wanted to jump in your inbox today and talk about breathing. And before you stop and skip this video, I know it sounds very rudimentary, but breathing is something that 99.9% of my pelvic health clients struggle with. And when I say struggle with, yes, they're breathing. They're not in on the floor in dead man's pose, right? Like they're alive and they're functioning, but we are paying attention to things like holding your breath through certain activities, especially difficult things, especially when you're going to stand up, when you're going to sit down, when you're lifting something, when you're lifting your baby, when you're inhaling, are you bearing down through your pelvic floor? This puts a lot of pressure on the pelvic floor. And the reason we're so concerned with breath is because your diaphragm helps to get your pelvic floor to do the things you want it to do. Your pelvic floor can't do everything on its own. It needs help from other muscle groups. So when we are thinking about going about our daily lives, something you want to pay attention to is not holding your breath. So when you're going to lift something, anything you're doing on an exertion should essentially be on an exhale. So if you're sitting down, you're going to exhale. When you stand up, you're going to exhale. When you're lifting something, you're going to exhale. This helps to reduce the pressure in your trunk and therefore less work for your pelvic floor to have to overcome, because there's less pressure coming down on the pelvic floor when you are lifting. I think this is why also heavy relative, right? Heavy weightlifting gets a very bad rap because people are holding their breath and they're participating in what's called Valsalva maneuver, which is holding their breath, and they don't have the mechanism to help their pelvic floor out during that. So when they're trying to hit a personal record and lift and put up the heaviest weight, they're holding their breath and putting a lot of pressure on their pelvic floor. And this is when we can see things happen like prolapse and leaking, two very, very common things in the gym that don't have to be common, right? Because we should be educating each other. The other thing I'd like for you to start thinking about and practicing is understanding the inhale and the exhale on a breath. And this is in the Beyond Kegels course too, where we're pairing breath with pelvic floor and abdominal work. We're not going to do that today. We're just going to get the basics of the breath down that I want you to practice in every position you assume throughout life. I'm going to show you lying down. You can try this sitting. You can try this standing. So essentially, when we are inhaling, we want two things to happen. We want ribs to expand outward, or think about ribs expanding outward, and we want to get the breath low into our low abdomen without pushing down. You're just inflating, okay, on the inhale. So we're going to walk through this. I'm going to show you on my back because I feel like that's the easiest position to see. So essentially, when you're practicing your breathing, you're going to have a hand up on your chest, a hand on lower belly or abs, and we're going to, on the inhale, try to fill the air under here, or the area under here with air. This hand should remain relatively quiet. So we don't want this. We don't want chest breathing. We want torso breathing, right? That rib expansion, that belly filling. And then exhale all the air out. So you'll feel under here, inflate, and then exhale all of the air out. When you're inflating, you're not pushing the air out. You're not pushing your belly out. Like, this isn't happening. Like, I'm just pushing my belly here. I'm not inflating. It's like you're inflating a balloon. You're not pushing. You don't want that balloon to pop. You want it nice and controlled. On the inhale, you might feel something happening in pelvic floor area. This is good. You want your pelvic floor to be able to relax. Again, this is something we go over in Beyond Kegels and Floored Forces. But that's the precursor to all of this. Like, that is the precursor to pelvic floor health and resilience, is getting that breath down. So that's what I want you to practice this week. This goes for everybody, like in every stage of life: pregnant people, postpartum people, people who never given birth, never have gotten pregnant, never want to do either of those things. Breath is so important. It's calming for your nervous system. It helps set your deep core up. It helps set your pelvic floor up. It helps set everything up for exercise. So I hope this was helpful, and let me know what questions you have.